Share a time when you or someone else said, let's get out of here. What happened?
When I see, for example, that's what I'm telling you, the typical guy who now makes a bit of music, earns a little money and shows off a lot and all that. In Ibiza, there's a lot of mafia that we don't really know personally, but we recognize them by the way they look, the way they act, and all that. And they're watching the watch, for example, and saying, hey, there are too many rats in here. Either we leave or you give me the watch and make it disappear because the watch has to disappear from here. Either I make it disappear the right way or they'll handle it themselves and we'll have a problem. Nothing happens. And when the watch chimes, it disappears.
That's no longer your responsibility, of course.
So when you're already letting the client know that something isn't right, that they have to be responsible for what's happening. And they have to let what they've hired do its job and trust the services they've contracted. And if they say no, that it doesn't matter, then you think, well, what am I doing here? You're not there to risk your life doing your job. Let's see if the client does their part and move forward. If the client is really a client that's worth it, they respect your services. If they don't care, it's like getting stabbed for them. That's how I see it.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But when he doesn't make the prior agreement that you guys have there, it's no longer your responsibility.
Ultimately, it depends on the attitude. If you're cocky, the attitude doesn't matter to me. That's when you realize that this guy didn't want security. He wanted a 2-meter tall guy to show off and for everyone to see it as a show. No, it's like saying I'm here. And you not only see me, but also notice I'm with 2 guys who are 2 meters tall. You don't really pay attention to the 2-meter tall guys. Are they just for show?
Yes, butlers. Is that the deal you mentioned, Jeffrey's deal?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes even a good client can be a Jeffrey, and it's no big deal. You can provide good security and then, hey, this happened to me. I don't know what he sees. If he buys, it's no big deal. Obviously, a service lasts a long time and a lot can happen.
Of course, of course, of course, of course, of course.
But when you see that he doesn't really want security but just wants to put on a show, that's when you realize, really. If you really like security, if what you really like is going out, being invited to eat, and taking your own pictures in nice places, then fine, that's it. Well, I don't criticize anything, right? If you value security, you start to wonder what you're doing.
The thing is, a lot of those people really don't need security. They do it to show off their status or
to try to show off or gain status, maybe because they lack money, aren't really in danger, or just don't have what it takes. Having 2, 3, or 5 guys watch over him isn't just about preventing someone from stealing your watch. There are many other situations, you know?
What has been the profile, without mentioning names? Who would you say has really been in the most danger? When did that happen? At the moment when it was the most dangerous or difficult for you to protect a client, or when you needed the most security?
Look, as I told you, I don't mention names, I don't mention company names, I don't mention client names, and I'm also not going to say when it was, but I have had a very influential person. And honestly, that assignment, which lasted 15 days, was one of the jobs that really put all my 15 years of experience to the test, to see if I was ready to do that kind of thing or not, because, for example, we were always on the move. I mean, the guy had a lot of money, he was being chased, he was a billionaire, not just rich. I mean, you notice that, you really notice it because he bought, well, he rented for 15 days houses that cost $250,000 a week, all 5 of them. At the same time, we changed cars every day and a half, or every 6 hours, depending on the situation. We never stayed in any house for over 3 hours meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner. We're always prepared in each house since he never knew where he'd be. We were on the move all the time, constantly on the move. Sometimes not even the security knew because he set up security rings, an inner ring, an outer ring, and another one that covered the houses. Sometimes even we, who were closest to him, didn't even know where we were going to go. I mean, he had it so well hidden, his movements were so secretive that until the very last second, even inside the car while we were moving, we didn't know which house we were going to. This could be a man who was being hunted. No, I don't want to give too many details because in the end, but the truth is, the guy had a pretty tough way of life and things were made very difficult for him for quite some time. And he was hiding in many countries for 4 or 5 months. And one of them he chose was Spain, and in Spain he chose Ibiza. And luckily, or because of who we are, or the kind of work we do, well, one of them ended up with us. It was my turn, and honestly, I really enjoyed working. That's really where you're truly a bodyguard. You really do the job, you really do advanced work. You go ahead to where he has to go, you check everything. We clean the houses, clean the house. It means making sure there were no microphones, no global positioning system, nobody there. We controlled the staff, documentation, schedules, who went in and out of all 5 houses, you know? We even drove around. Maybe he was in one house and we pretended like he was leaving. We would do a fake exit so people would think maybe you were playing, constantly playing, always trying to throw people off, and everyone dressed the same because he said they were watching us with drones. I mean, everyone dressed the same. Yes, everyone.
Damn, huh?
Everyone was dressed in black. All of us, all 25 of us who worked in the service, the transfers, everyone was dressed in black. So no one would know who he was and who wasn't him. We even looked for people who were about his same height.
The guy was big back then since you're really tall. He weighed.
The guy was about 1.80 or 1.90 meters tall, and we all had to be around that height. Man, look at you.
You're 2 meters. How much?
Now I'm 2 meters too, and I weigh 123 kilos. Yes, I mean, of course, that's important. In fact, no one could speak his language.
No one spoke the language, so they couldn't understand him. That was a requirement.
When the interpreter was present, they would talk among themselves and he would join in.
The interpreter spoke for us, so we barely interacted with him.
In fact, it was completely forbidden for any of us to understand their language so that we wouldn't know what he was saying, who he was talking to, or what he was talking about. So that everything would be very secretive with him. And this kind of service, for example, costs more than a standard service. Man, it's on your tab, you know? First, because he values the service.
Yeah, man. Second,
because he needs it. And third, because he has the ability to pay well for it, because of everything surrounding it. Good service, not talking, always being in his place. I mean, everything that comes with that. In the end, it gets paid for. Honestly, we get paid very well. Yes, no.
very well.
And besides, then there's the tip. I mean, that's another thing in this world. Sometimes the tip is even bigger than the money for the service.
Yes, right? A lot of people.
You realize the client is truly happy, not by what they pay you, because everything has a price. It's like buying a car. It costs what it costs, right? If after 10 years with the car you've never had issues, who gets credit, the seller or the maker? You'd say, hey, thanks to this great car, I haven't had any problems and I haven't had to pay for repairs every 5 minutes. Well, when you give a customer really good service, they feel good. And usually they reward you with really, really good tips.
Which means sometimes it even doubles or triples the service.
Of course, in the end, he doesn't feel it. Many wealthy people aren't foolish. They have money because they know what they're doing. Everything has a price, so you pay the usual amount. And he understands that a 12-hour service can be worth a certain amount of money, right? But if the service is very well provided and he feels very happy, that's when he says, here, I appreciate it, and they pay you either the same or less or 10.
Yes, but there's always, in this world, there's always a tip. Always, always.
And that's where, yes, always, always, even from him, and with all due respect, even from the one who doesn't need it. Like when you're taking him to the bathroom and all that, when he gives you a tip, it's 50 or 100, I don't know.
Yeah, but he usually does.
But they always give you a tip.